So welcome back to the Mr. and Mrs. in Business podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Helen.
And on this show, what do we talk about?
Business.
Marriage.
Life.
HR.
Today we do.
Today. We have a very special guest with us today. Our first guest. You haven't told her that. We haven't told her that yet, have we?
Now we've got our first guest.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
Hello.
Hi,
I'm honoured.
Yes.
you are
Yeah.
first.
So would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name's Emma Cromarty and my business is EC Human Resources.
Fantastic. So I'm guessing it's human resources.
That's correct.
HR.
Yeah.
How did you get in? I'm going to dive straight into it, right? We're no messing about. We're doing all the chit chat. We're doing it off air. We're going to get into it now.
Yeah.
How did you get into HR? Because when I was back at school and you had those career advice, those really useful careers advice people, and they said, what do you want to get into? I don't remember anyone ever coming out saying, I want to do HR. So
No,
how did you fall into HR?
I literally fell into it, you're right. I wanted to do travel, and I still think, why didn't I do that? Because I love travel. But I did the vague kind of, I know, I will do some business studies, see what that pops up.
Yeah.
My first job, I did a bit of recruitment and a bit of training for some kind of sales execs in early IT. And I just loved kind of the HR element of it, training, speaking to people. So then I started investigating maybe getting a qualification in it, and then a company took me on, paid for my degree, and that was it.
Rest
I
is
was in
history.
HR, yes.
Nice.
Okay.
So there was no like, I'm definitely going to do HR. I just
Yeah.
was very interested in people and the way they work, and
Like the psychology of people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That seems, because I find psychology people really, I want to work out why they do certain behaviours.
absolutely.
And if I can't get to it, I
Yeah.
get really annoyed.
People are very, very complex
Yeah.
and difficult creatures, and while my job is difficult, it's so interesting because all people are different, and the
Yeah.
way you have to talk to them, manage them, deal with them, all very different.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are the bits you don't like about HR? Because I know there's certain bits I don't like about my job.
The really boring things for me are just the paperwork side. You know, yes, I can throw out a contract of employment, but it's just really dull stuff. So that side of things. I suppose what I don't like is when I'm giving advice to someone and they just do not take it.
Yeah.
And I am trying to reason with them as to why this is the best course of action for them, from a legal sense, from a business sense, you name it, and they still will refuse to take that advice. So I find it really hard, I suppose, to step back. It's not my business. And I think sometimes I get so involved with these companies that I feel like it is my business, and I'm like a little bit like frustrated that they're not doing the best for their own business. So I find it difficult to step back.
I can imagine that. You want to, you're giving somebody advice. You're paying me to give you advice.
Yeah.
Why are you taking it?
Yeah,
I'm
because
the
it is the
expert.
best for their business. So I do think, okay, I've given you the advice, and so I've got a couple of clients and known them very well, and I always go, you'll come back to me soon and say, you told me so.
Yeah. Told you so.
Are you going to get a t-shirt with that saying?
Yeah, told you so.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Yeah. Yeah.
So, HR, what would you want to do before then? So when you were at school, what was your dream? Mine was to be, well, I'm not going to tell you mine yet. What was
I
yours?
wanted to do travel
Yeah.
because I suppose as a child, I didn't really go abroad. So when I was 16 and allowed out in the big wide world, all I wanted to do was go abroad and travel and see things. And that's I suppose why I wanted to do something in travel, because I thought, it's an easy way of seeing the world. And I still enjoy that now. I love going on holiday. I like seeing the world and seeing different things. But I suppose when I was 18, I probably thought, is this actually going to give me a career? Am I going to get any money out of this? Or can I do that as well as a career? So I took the sensible option, which has worked out.
Yeah.
Well, you're still in it. When is it 12 years?
In 12 years in my own business,
Yeah, amazing.
And God knows how many years before that in corporate HR. But
And that's something we need to celebrate more, because I said to you earlier before you came on, I've been doing some stalking, and you said you shouldn't use that word. You should use
research.
research, which I'm now going to start using instead of stalking. That sounds just predatory, doesn't it? I've been stalking.
We need to improve.
And it's 12 years in business. That's something that seems to be, we need to celebrate more, because businesses have been through a hell of a lot the past few years
Absolutely.
with COVID and recession and government changes and Brexit been battered. So that's something we should be really proud of. 12 years is a long time to be in business.
I think 10 years snuck up on me. I think it was kind of November time, and I thought, oh my God, in January it's going to be 10 years. And I just thought, wow. So the whole of that year celebrated like crazy. I bet anyone who saw me on LinkedIn was like, oh my God, is it 10 years, is it?
Another t-shirt printed.
But you know what? I was like, actually, 10 years in business, what an achievement. And another 2 years on. It's been... weird and wonderful.
Yeah, I think weird and wonderful is a good way of describing running a business, I think, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I've got this analogy of running a business, which is like you're in the sea in a little dinghy in the middle of the ocean with really high waves, and you're paddling to get to the top of this wave, because if you don't, it's going to crush you and take you out totally. So you go for hours and hours and hours, and all of a sudden you get to the top, and there's this moment of, this is amazing. But then all of a sudden you're coming down the other side, and it's coming down to get you, to knock you out again. So, my God, you're panicking again. So you get these little moments of like enjoyments with loads of like, oh my God, moments along the way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think when you think, I'll run my own business, it's normally you're good at something, I'll take an opportunity and do that as a business, but then you don't think of everything else, do you?
Yeah.
Marketing, accounts, and all that stuff.
HR.
HR, and you just... there's a lot.
Yeah, just so many different decisions, isn't there? Because we were speaking to somebody else last week, and they were running their own business, and they were saying how lonely it is, and even speaking to your partner or really good friends and family, as much as they want to, they don't fully get it. And when you're saying, I'm not sure if to do X, Y, or Z, and then they just don't see like the knock-on effect of what the choice could be. So I do feel lucky most of the time to have to sort of bounce off, especially because we are so chalk and cheese. Like, I've tried to persuade him to think of like family time more than like just work, and then you've encouraged me to be like, well, it's not a bad thing if you are doing work on the evening and the weekend, because it's going to be a less stressful day the next day. So it's quite good to have that to bounce off. But I suppose you could take comfort in the companies that you speak to, because we've got a lot of relationships with our customers, and the ones that can be honest and open, you realise, oh God, it's not just me that feels like that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's why I probably do so much networking, because you do speak to honest business owners, and working on your own is lonely sometimes. Even if you're going in to see clients, it's still quite lonely. So going to that networking and bouncing ideas off each other and going, oh my God, I've got a bad payer, how do you deal with it, or whatever it might be, or did you see my social media post, do you think it was good? Anything like that. It's really good to bounce off other business owners and have those conversations.
Absolutely. So obviously I work with my wife, she works. We say work, I don't know if it's work. Have you ever worked with family or partner or?
No.
There's a story there, I feel.
No, I get a lot of business owners come to me and say, I've got no contracts of employment, for instance. And I go, oh, why is that? Because we only employ friends and family.
Right.
And that's probably the time you do need them.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Because I have so many horror stories of businesses where someone in their family has taken them to tribunal or fell out with them. I think where money is concerned, in any walk of life, there is always going to be an issue going forward. So even if you do employ friends and family, you need a contract of employment, because you just never know. More so, there will always be disputes in the workplace, but if they are a friend or if they're a family member, they're more likely.
Really?
Wow.
Because they can probably say, well, they can be more honest, can't they? They're not afraid to say what they think.
Wow. That's interesting, because you would think to trust that person more. I think I wouldn't need. I can see why people think I don't need that.
Oh, absolutely.
So I need a contract of employment for you.
Yeah, and you. Hold you accountable.
I had a client whose daughter-in-law took him to tribunal, and there was a massive payout.
Jeez.
So it happens. And I always say, don't be so trusting. There's a real balance, I think, between trusting your employees but not trusting them too much, and just making sure, you've got yourself covered.
Protected. I suppose it's about protecting yourself more than the business, isn't it? More than anything else.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think there is a lot of family businesses who think, well, in order to grow, we'll employ our family members, we'll employ friends, we'll employ friends of friends, and then it kind of grows from there. but sometimes it's really dangerous.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
you know, if you fall out with a friend from a personal point of view, but you work with them, well, then you've got a problem at work, haven't you?
Yeah.
True.
So I'm very much like, no.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't do this. You wouldn't recommend this. No.
Yeah.
Too
I
late.
think it really. I think it really. I mean, obviously, you guys work well together. I wouldn't say me and my other half would work well together. He would probably say I was a complete control freak, and I would say he likes to do things very last minute, which would drive me insane.
Right.
So I think
Yeah.
some partnerships can work well together. Still have contracts, but
Yeah.
others not so much.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Have contracts in place, right?
Yeah.
I need to speak to you after this.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of, we said earlier, there's been a lot of changes in business and stuff. And I feel like over the past few months, there seems to have been a load of changes in HR. And what's I found really interesting is when I've had conversations with the business owners, they're like, I don't think that's come in yet, have they? And I'm like, I don't know, has it? Hasn't it? So I think it'd be really interesting if we could kind of debug or demystify, whatever that the phrase is, a lot of those things in terms of what has, putting you on the spot, but what has changed in the past 6 months and sort of what do we know or think might be coming for businesses so they don't have to panic if it's not here yet?
I think the thing I've said probably over the last year is, I was saying the start of my career, employment law was not really spoke about in the news. Of social media probably wasn't around back then. And I think because it's so in the front of social media news that everyone thinks they know what employment law is. So all your employees will think they know everything. But also because Labour have kind of come in and going, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, the other.
Yeah.
Everyone's a bit like, has it come in? Has it not come in? I get so many inquiries going, oh my God, do we need to update our contracts? What about policies? We can't give 0-hour contracts, so why have you given us a 0-hour contract? I'm like, yeah. None of this has happened yet.
Right.
So last year, in April last year, we had a few changes in legislation from Conservative Labour, Conservative government, where they were due to come in and they just came in. So in April, all we had was the carers leave. So basically, carers can now have up to a week off. It's unpaid. So that came in force April. We've got flexible working, so that's a day one right. So that was from April. And we've got some changes with paternity. Then in October last year, this is the only one in the last 6 months, has been sexual harassment changes. So now there's an emphasis on employers to protect employees from sexual harassment. Okay. As for anything else, it's not coming yet. Obviously, other than April, we've got the normal minimum wage changes as we normally would, and NI rise and all the statutory rates, but they come in every April. As for everything else, it's all been a bit of a conversation from the government saying this is what we plan to do, and what they normally need to do is throw that out to a few bodies for them to discuss how this would work in practice, and for businesses to have their say and go, this is not going to work, and they probably won't listen and do what they want anyway. So nothing has come in. And back at the end of last year, we thought it was going to come in this year, but it's not actually going to come in until next year. So we've got a little bit of time and nothing really has been confirmed. There's a lot of we think, but it's not been confirmed. So the big one, I suppose, that everyone is looking at is day one rights.
That's the one I was talking about somebody the other day, and they're like, it's happened, is it? I don't know.
No, luckily not yet. I hope they backtrack on this, but I don't think they will. We are thinking it's October 2026.
Okay.
So a while yet. They've still got a few things to iron out. So they're going to have, we think and we hope, a probationary period. And that may be 9 months. That's what we're hoping for. It might not. It might be 3, it might be 6, it might be 12.
Right.
So there's a few things to iron out. And what does that look like? So, okay, there's a probationary period that we can legally put in place, but what hoops do we have to jump over to legally dismiss someone? But essentially, from day one, the employee can claim for unfair dismissal. At the moment, it's 2 years.
Right.
October 2026. It's day one.
So, I mean, obviously it's not coming in yet, so maybe I'm jumping the gun here. But so if let's say, for example, they said you can give a 9-month probationary period, and somebody came in and after 3 months they just weren't cutting the mustard. You've gone through like performance improvement plans and done all the reasonable steps to try and get them to the point where they need to, and they don't, or they get to 9 months and they haven't passed probation, even though you can evidence you've done loads of training and X, Y, and Z, and they just haven't got it. they would still be able to claim unfair dismissal.
That's correct.
Potentially.
Yes, it's crazy. It's crazy.
What's the point in the probationary period then?
I think the government are allowing this probationary period so it gives you an opportunity to do the work with the employee. And as long as you have evidenced it, their claim may fail.
Right.
But they can still put a claim in.
So we still have to go through all the hassle and the headache
That's
and then the
correct,
court
yeah.
fees and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
That is bonkers.
Wow.
It really is bonkers because I think at the moment the tribunals are just full, and the wait time to hear a tribunal is like 18 months, 2 years, and it is ever increasing.
Right.
So October 2026, it's just going to increase even more. I don't even know how they're going to hear some of them. It might be 5 years down the road before anything happens. And okay, maybe some of them will be kicked out as they are today. But I think the tribunal system is so flawed. It's going to be a cost to the employer. Whatever way you look at it, you've still got to prepare all the documents. Yeah. Even if you go all the way to court, it's all that time, it's that effort, it's a stress, especially for small businesses.
Huge stress.
And I think, like I said before, employees think they know everything.
Right.
There's a lovely little group on Facebook, have a look if you've got time, which is employment law group, and basically anyone, employees can ask questions on it, and you're to see the advice from people who think they know everything about it. I often just go for it for a little laugh. But this, I think this is just what we've got to contend with, and I think the first thing that will happen if an employee is in trouble is that they go home, they tell their family member or their friend, and straight away, oh, well, they haven't done that right, or have they done this? Oh, I think you've got a claim there. It will happen. So for businesses, you've got to protect yourselves. You've got to make sure that you followed a policy, that you followed the process all the way through. You've documented absolutely everything. I always say document everything. But essentially, yes, an employee can put a claim in. And at the moment, I'm finding where they can't put an unfair dismissal claim in because they haven't got the 2 years, they will automatically put a discrimination claim in because they can from day one.
Wow.
Even if there's just nothing there.
But doesn't that just show they're looking for a way just to,
absolutely.
to screw somebody for a few quid? I mean, the fact that they're looking for any excuse, well, I can't do that one, so I'll do that one instead.
Yeah,
but they're not even,
absolutely.
I suppose they're trying to link them some way. But
I think I've seen over the last 6 to 8 months a change in the advice that may be getting from their solicitors. So when I am negotiating a settlement agreement, for instance, they will know that they have no unfair dismissal claim. So they will go, well, if we put a discrimination claim in, that we could end up with X amount of money. So therefore, we're pushing up the settlement figure by this amount. And they're trying it that way. So I think it's coming down to some of the solicitors giving poor advice.
It does in some way, and I don't know what route I'd choose if this happened to us, does not giving them a settlement almost add fuel to the fire? And everyone else thinks, well, even if I'm going to put that claim in, because either I'll take them to court, but the chances are they'll give me a settlement, so I'll get a few quid in, and maybe not as much as I would if I'd have gone to court. And so, you should do it as well, because they'll give you a payout. Yeah,
I mean, a settlement is supposed to be confidential, so they're not supposed to chat about it unless obviously they're close
Facebook.
family. But then if they are going, to all of their colleagues, I've got a settlement, go and get it. I mean, there is a clause potentially where you could claim the money back, so they shouldn't be doing that. But I think some businesses are worried about that we've offered that person and we don't want to do that because everyone else will be on the bandwagon for it. I think there's a place for settlement agreements where there's been a breach of trust and the relationship's completely broken down. Sometimes there is no option. It may not be the employer's fault completely, however, they may have played some part in it. And I think sometimes to exit someone from the business, it's the safest route. And I think if they don't want to spend months and months and months filling out paperwork for the court and having the stress of all of that and the cost of all of that, then sometimes it can be settled quite quickly with going, will you accept this? And have a sensible conversation around it.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned then the sexual harassment thing around businesses have to support employees. Is that right? If
they have to put things in place to show that they have prevented it, basically. And I think part of the government's plan as well, next year or maybe the year after, is to tighten those up.
Right.
What that looks like, I don't know. But so things like it could be anything small from, if you've got a phone system, you might have a recording message saying that, you don't permit anyone harassing their staff.
Right.
It might be a sign up on a wall. You might have seen it. I went to Ben and Jerry's the other week, and right at the front where you check in, there's a little poster saying, please don't abuse our staff and all of that stuff.
Okay.
So simple things like that. But it's having a policy in place. If it's happening, who to report it to, having someone who kind of looks after the sexual harassment claims, per se. And having training. So telling staff exactly what that means, what behaviour is acceptable in the workplace. So it's giving the staff the tools to know what is right, what is wrong. So you prevent it, but also if it does occur, what is the plan to handle that?
Right, okay. So in essence then, businesses should be putting up some notices to let people know they don't tolerate it, create a policy so that staff know where to report to and what the escation process looks like.
Yeah.
And then what was the last one?
Training.
That was it, training, yes. So training as well.
I think training is very helpful. I work with a selection of businesses from kind of manufacturing to professional services. And I'm sure you can... banter is thrown around a lot. It's just banter. Yeah. So I think, a clarity on what is banter and what isn't banter is good. Yeah.
Do you think that the workplace has changed a lot over the years? I mean, that's a prime example there, isn't it? So what is defined as banter and what isn't? And people...
It really just... this is where harassment, bullying harassment, sexual harassment, it means different things to different people. I have had a lot of different cases, and I'm really surprised all the time with what pops up. And I went to a networking event a while ago, actually, and there was some ladies around kind of 50, and they were talking about what the workplace was like when they were in their 20s and some of the stuff that went on. And that was obviously very acceptable back then. And now it literally, people would be dismissed. There might be some kind of criminal cases there. So it is a different workplace. And I think with the next generation coming through, there will definitely be more that is not permissible in the workplace and what people are quite happy to report on.
Do you think it's going to an extreme now, though, where every little thing is just becoming a bigger issue than it needs to actually be?
Yeah, absolutely. I do. I had a lady who had commented on another lady's dress, how lovely it was, how good they looked in it. Something probably that I would say. And the lady put a grievance in about it, stating that it was sexual harassment, that she hadn't worked there. She only been there a couple of months. She didn't know the lady well enough for her to say those comments about her body. And it was just a compliment. So, I even sometimes surprised sometimes, but I think sometimes, yes. And I think that's why it's really difficult for employers to find a balance.
I think this is why a lot of employers, you mentioned before the national insurance went up and then the minimum wage went up as well. So employers have just been stung with with both of those things. The more and more people we speak to recently, business owners, are saying, I'm really looking at my staff in terms of what do I really need? Are they really adding value to my business? Because actually they're costing me now a hell of a lot more money than they did before. Where can I start making cutbacks? And I think if we're not careful, we're getting into a situation where all these changes the government's trying to bring in to make it a better place is actually going to have the opposite effect.
It will have the reverse effect. We'll have businesses reduce their workforce, a load of people unemployed, and I'm sure that's not what the government wanted out of all of this, but there's so much emphasis on employers too. I mean, day one rights is just one thing, but it'll be day one rights for certain leave. I mentioned the carers, which was in last year. Labour want to make that paid leave.
Right.
At the moment, it's unpaid leave. 0-hour contracts. There is a load of people out there who like the fact that they can work whenever they want to work on 0-hour contracts. Okay, there's certain organisations that may take the mickey out and not use them appropriately. And I think for the small amount of people who are taking the pee out of them, the government have just chomped down on it. But I know, hospitality industry, what are they going to do with being able? It's absolutely crazy. So I think I've had certainly a lot of businesses with the NI and the minimum wage go, right, we need to make some redundancies, or we need to consider short-term working, or what can we do to reduce our costs, and not just with people, everything to do. I've had a few move buildings to reduce our costs, and look at other various bits and pieces, but I think that's what it's going to come down to. And the more that, you've got people going, I'm not going to take on any people because day one rights, I don't know how to handle that.
Yeah.
I'm really scared of taking someone on and then it not working out. And then I'm going to have, 10 claims on my hand. And it's worrying. It's really worrying times, especially for, really small businesses.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're trying to put the fear of God into people. I mean, it's already a really, you won't know this until you start hiring people for yourself, right? But it's a really scary thing hiring people, as you'll know, and that it's already, you already feel like you're under a lot of pressure because you feel you've got to pay for somebody and you've got to do right by them. But I feel like now I've got to do all those things and more, and I'm scared to death of saying the wrong thing, and I'm scared that you're going to sue me for something, and I'm scared if you ask me to leave 5 minutes early, if I say no, I'm discriminating against you for something, and then I'm scared if I let you get away with it, then they want to get away with it, and it's like, oh my God. Sometimes I'm starting to wonder now, are you better off just not employing anybody at all?
Well, then I would be out of work.
Sorry, that is very true. Okay.
I do get a lot of scared employers, and they ask me a question like, why have you done that? Why have you said that? And I think it is because employees come across like they know everything. And so they go, I want to leave 5 minutes early because I've got this appointment. And if they're told no, that's not right because legally I can have that time off, and they'll come back with something. So I think employers are very quick to agree to stuff that they don't necessarily have to agree to. And sometimes when I come in and go, no, you didn't have to do that. Maybe we should do this. We can have that conversation with them, but they don't know everything there is, and you've got a business to run. But it is a fine line because everyone's worried about potentially that claim.
Yeah. I mean, when I used to work for a big organisation before, I remember one girl, she always used to come in 15 minutes late. She came, the office was in Dudley. She was coming from the other side of Birmingham. And it wasn't like the hours changed. I think it was 8:30. Everyone starts at 8:30. She took the job on with that thing. She knew it fine. But she was always 15 minutes late. And when we started to question her after a bit, you're always 15. It's never like 5. It's always like 50. What's going on? Well, I have to feed the dog. Okay. Well, you might have to feed the dog a little bit earlier then, so maybe to get into work at 8:30. Yeah, but the dog eats at this time, and then there's too much traffic. Right? But surely the dog won't notice if you feed it 15 minutes earlier. I genuinely had this conversation with this woman. She was adamant she could not leave. And it was like, well, what am I supposed to do? Get rid of the dog? No, I'm not asking you to get rid of the dog. I'm saying, why can't you feed the dog 15 minutes earlier? You knew what the job was before you took it on. It wasn't like we changed it or landed it on you and said, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, you got to start 8:30. Honestly, it went round and round in circles, and she tried to take the company to court. I'm going to threaten, that's it, how dare you? Because after a bit, it was like, if you can't do this, we can't move the role or anything. This is what the role is. We might have to call it a day kind of thing. You can't do that. You can't do that. She threatens to. It didn't go anywhere in the end. But, oh my God. But that was when I was working for a large organisation. So it didn't bother me too much because I've got HRs and solicitors and all the rest of it. But as a small business, I'd be like, oh my God.
Well, it's a full-time job managing those little people issues.
Crazy.
And then you took off your sales and actually bringing in business and planning for the future because you're dealing with those really small issues, really, but obviously they're big to the employees, but they're just causing you a big issue. I think definitely the workplace has changed over the last 20 years. Probably not for the best, in my opinion.
I was thinking about this morning because I knew you were coming on, and I was thinking like 100 years ago, I wasn't around 100 years ago, contrary to popular belief. But there was this kind of picture painted that employees were grateful to have work, that they almost have gone out of their way to find, and they respect the employer, and the employer does or doesn't respect them, I don't know. But it was almost like they were grateful for that job. They worked hard, they earned whatever few pence they earned, and they were grateful because it meant they could put food on the table, feed their families, maybe save a little bit if they could, but it meant they could live and survive, right? Yeah. And today I feel like it's almost done a 180, and now it's almost like, well, if I'm going for a job, you should be paying me more. I'm worth more than what you're paying me. I'm more important than you. And I feel like it's in a total flip.
It is. I mean, I do a little bit of recruitment. I don't particularly like that. I should have said that at the beginning. But
Oh, okay.
if a client wants me to, I will. But it's not my bag. I find it really annoying. But you'll get the questions like, oh, is it a hybrid? Is it working from home? No, it's not. Read the advert. It's 9 to 5. But there's an expectation now where you must let me work from home or occasionally. Has it got this benefit, the other benefit? There is a lot of, I'm not going to entertain even going for an interview because you're not giving me what I want. And I don't know if it's because back then it was a job for life, and now people kind of stay there for 2-3 years and they're always going to move on, so they don't care so much maybe. But there certainly is that I'm doing you a favour rather than the other way around attitude, and I do think there's a bit of a difference in work ethic. I think just the inability to just work 40 hours and do a good job.
That's the thing for me. If I haven't got to the end of the week and felt like I've done a good week's work, I don't feel like I've earned my money. I feel like I have to earn my money. I don't know. I don't know if it's a generation thing either, because these kids get a lot of a bad stick, and I'm not here to throw mud at them or anything like that. But I don't know if it's generation related, because I know that when we've employed older people, they've been a little bit easier and I suppose a bit more
understanding of like the work ethic. Like for me, if I've started a job, if it's not going to take that much longer, then I just want to finish it. But like, you know, if previously and in other roles, like, you know, someone might start a job and there's like 2 things to finish, but they'll just be off because it's bang on that time. And it's like,
well, they got the backpack 5 minutes before.
Yeah. And it's just like, but why would you just not take literally 5 minutes to finish that job? But it's just a totally different way of thinking.
It's a different mindset.
Like, interesting.
So, recruitment then. So how can we sort of start to weed out or spot some of these? I don't want to label people because it's not always the people's fault. It's the people. I feel like it's some kind of political thing. It's not always the employee's fault. Sometimes the employers do get it wrong, right? And sometimes the employees aren't right. So we're not always saying that all employees are bad, because they're not, obviously. But what can a business do during the recruitment stage or the interview stage to try and weed out these people that might be problematic?
It's difficult because some people are very good at interviews and saying the right thing. I think it starts with the employer. I think you need to start with a job description. You need to understand what you want and be very honest with that. And be very honest with the person that you're interviewing about what that looks like. There's no point going, oh, this is a job, it's great, it's rosy and all of that, when actually they're going to come to work and there's going to be some stuff that they don't like about it, because they're not going to last 5 minutes. I also get a lot of people who go, well, I want this admin person who can do a bit of sales, that can do a bit of like production work. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, this person doesn't exist. So while I get that you need people to do those bits, maybe it's not a full-time role for that. Maybe it's several part-time jobs or whatever it is, or, you know, outsource it. So I think the need to look very closely at what do you need? Are you going to get that from one person? And then what does that person look like? So not just their skills and their experience, but what would fit into your culture? What type of person? And I think the other mistake is that no one likes to do interviews. So it'll be a very brief, going through the CV, 10 minutes, and then they'll go, oh, well, they've done that, they've done the other, tick the box kind of thing. Oh, you honestly, some interviews are ridiculous. And I'm like, did you really find out much information about them? Wow. Oh, well, we'll just give them the shot. And I'm like, you know what? Come October 2026, you can't just give them a shot. You need to be really, really, really sure about it. You know, and there's talk about, you know, personality tests and that kind of stuff. And again, if you're super, super clever, you know which boxes to tick to, you know, get through to whatever you need to get through. So do they work? It depends. I personally think people can fake them. It's really, obviously you've got to know if they've got the skills, they've got the experience. I would do test galore on them. People can say they've got experience, but actually give them a physical test to do. You know, if it's a technical job, ask them to make it or do whatever that is. But also, if you can, get them to spend some time in the business, a couple of hours working with one of your better people, one of the managers, get them a feel for that person, call it a test if you want, or whatever it is, get them to do something, but put them with some of your employees, see how they bounce off each other, because it's okay for a half an hour interview, you can be on your best behaviour, can't you? But for a couple of hours, some of your the red flags might come out. I always say as well, go with your gut. I think there's a real skill issue, and there'll be, oh well, he's the best person out of the 10 people that we've applied, so we'll have to give him the job or her the job. And I'm like, yes, but you've got like red flags all here. Like, just be like, wait, re-advertise, let's go again. Don't rush. And I think the emphasis next year will be, just let's get recruitment right. Because if you feel that you have, then that's a big tick going on, and we'll watch them during the probationary. And I think the other thing I get is there's a real throw them into the job, not do an induction, do any onboarding. Some don't even have a computer on the first day, or any business cards with the salespeople. That kind of stuff. Get the real basics right for that new employee, and also so they feel like they're valued as a new employee. Everything they need to do it. And speak to them, review with them, get some feedback from them, and you can get a real feel for them pretty quickly. But have longer conversations, and not just about skills. Talk to them about what they like doing. Have an open conversation. It's difficult. It is really difficult, because you can do all of those things and still get it wrong.
Yeah, it is.
We've done things like tests before. We had one lad come in who said he knew how to do graphic design. So we said, great, spend a couple hours, and would you mind just designing this for me? And within 10 minutes realised you haven't.
That was like the quickest.
So that was easy. And then when we have technical roles like production, we always say, right, part of your role is embroider the sides, and then you said, to use the machine. Go and show me. Very quickly, you'll realise.
That's been interesting. Well, what it was, when I said I'd done that, I did a trial at university for a week.
Absolutely.
And the one that we've done that works really quite well is we always do second interview. So the first interview was always competency-based and proper put down with like a scoring mechanism and all the rest of it. But then afterwards, we'll say, this is all like a formality just so we can get to know you a little bit better. People, I find, relax a lot more in that second one, because it's almost like I've got this in the bag sort of situation. And then you start asking similar questions to what you asked in the first interview, but not competency-based, more of a conversation. And they'll say, we interviewed one girl, she performed absolutely brilliantly for an admin role a while ago. Again, did the second thing, came in, started having a chat with her. And I said, so we were talking about, she didn't work up the road, talking about the role. She said, oh, bloody hell, I hate the fucking manager there. He's a bloody arsehole. I swear this is exactly what she was saying. He hates me because I know everything, I know what I'm doing, and the rest of them don't know what the bloody hell they're doing. They haven't got a clue. I don't teach them anything. And all of a sudden I started painting this picture and thinking, right, okay. So it's almost
we were keen, and then we were like, no.
True colours are coming out. So
that works really well for us. It's almost like that second one. It's a bit more relaxed, not so structured, if you like, more of a conversation. It's like a pub sort of chat. Let's get to know you. Like, what would we get on?
And also just don't have one person on the panel. Have a couple, and then if you do a second, maybe involve someone else. I've got a few clients who do the first interview, and then they invite me to the second and go, "Can you just see what you think?" And they behave a little bit different towards me, but I can tend to drag a few more bits out, and then they go, "Okay, do you think what I think, or is there any red flags?" I think sometimes another person coming in the process, you can hit on things that maybe the other one hasn't.
Absolutely.
I think that's good, because it's a big thing, isn't it?
It is a big thing. So policies and stuff. So when when you have HR issues, typically they can cost the business
loads,
a shit ton of money, right? So what is like the precautionary measures you can try and take to try? I know every issue is different, but are there sort of like hard and fast rules you say every business should have X, Y, and Z, and that will help you mitigate these issues?
Yeah, every business should have contract of employment in place for every single employee. It's the law anyway, but you would not imagine how many people do not have that, especially if they employ friends and family. And make sure they're up to date. Legislation changes. There's certain things you have to put in. Next year, we'll have to insert, the law will change on trade unions, so we'll have to change the contracts again. They're ever changing. Policies and procedures, key. So, for instance, your sexual harassment policy, one of the really easy things to do is put a policy in around it. If you've got a disciplinary case, I've got one at the moment, they don't have a disciplinary policy that I can refer to.
Right.
So what's the process for the business? I mean, we can say it's the same as ACAS, but, you know, they might want to change things. I always think employers are a little bit scared of contracts and scared of policies, because if they've got them, they think they're tied to it. And I'm like, you are, but you can essentially put what you want within them, obviously within reason. You've got to put certain things for the law, you know, holidays have got to be 28 days, etc. But you can be flexible. So if you are expecting this from the employee, then you can put that in. If you expect 3 weeks notice for someone to take a holiday, put it in your policy. So you can put the rules and regulations as you want them. So they're not scary, but it means that you know what the policy is, your employee knows what the policy is, everyone knows what the expectations are. So if someone wants a day off, there's a policy for it. Right. They know in black and white what the rules are, what they get paid, what they don't get paid, etc., etc. And I think the first thing that a tribunal will say is, have you got a policy for that? Have you got a sexual harassment policy? What have you followed the policy? Have you not followed the policy? Is it just a piece of paper that you don't even look at? So they're key to any business. And I think some businesses go, oh, we're only small, we don't need one. And I think they don't think that item's going to pop up as an issue. Something will always pop up as an issue. You know, you might not have anyone pregnant, but someone may get pregnant, so you're going to need a maternity policy. And I think sometimes they'll go, oh, what's our policy on this? I don't know. What's your policy on that? Shall we have a think about what you perhaps want? But I had an issue a while ago where they were like, oh, but, you know, we want to run it all friendly. We don't want policies and rules and regulations. There was a real issue around bullying. And I was like, right, we need to put these policies and procedures in. The bullying kind of flung off to different areas. So I was like, let's just put an employee handbook together. I went in to speak to the employees to explain all of that. Every single one went, oh my God, that's really good. We've been wanting a handbook and some policies for ages because we want, you know, a bit like questions.
Structure kind of
and I always go, people love rules and like, they want to know what their expectations are. You know, how can you say someone's not done a very good job when you haven't got a job description or you haven't got objectives or you haven't reviewed what they're supposed to do? You can't, and the employee won't know. So it's the same for policy. So contracts, policies, communicate them to everyone. When they update and the law changes, make sure they're updated, and make sure they've got access to them. My standard handbook is, I don't know, about 160 pages. It's proper big. And I'm not saying that every employee is going away reading that on a night, but they've had it. And if something pops up, they've signed for it. If anything pops up, they've had it. And they know what their behaviour should be and also what the company are going to give them in the way of anything, benefits, etc. So,
so it's not really rocket science, is it?
It's not rocket science, no. Absolutely, it isn't, no.
It's basics, like I said, just writing things down, make sure everyone follows them, everyone has access to them, and they know what to do then when those issues arise.
And you can have a little bit of control in, like you say, in saying that you need to give X amount of time if you want time off, or like, you know, some companies where I've worked previously, you have to take X amount of days between Christmas and New Year, and then you don't need to fall out about it. So you can sort of make your life so much easier by having them, can't you?
Yeah, it's not a surprise to anyone. You know, that you start with the company. Here's your contract. This is what you're going to get paid. All your terms. Here's your policies. These are our rules. So it's quite, and I don't know why businesses they want to shy away from them, and I think it's because they want it all to be friendly. But then if they're a growing business and they're suddenly gone from 2 people to 20 people, oh my life, you definitely need them. Because there'll be you let me have that time off and you paid me for it for that dentist appointment, but then you've got 20 people who want a dentist appointment, all expect being paid for it. You're like, you're like, oh no, we need to stop this.
So what's your take on one-to-ones then? Because I've always been one-to-ones every month should be a mandatory. It's like as important as brushing your teeth every morning, right? Because everybody knows where they stand. If there are any issues, you can nip them in the bud. If there are performance issues, you can put PIPs in place and all those things. And everyone knows where they're working towards. And the one-to-one should not only be how are you getting on, but also objection-based or KPI-based as well. What are your thoughts on it? Because I speak to business owners, they're like, well, flipping, I'm not doing that. That's too much effort.
They don't like doing it because it's time consuming. And I struggle to get them to do probationary reviews. And that could be after 6 months. So my advice is, you need to do it monthly. I go to write a policy around it. I'm like, realistically, are you going to do it monthly? If you're not, let's not write it in the policy.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I suggest maybe 3 and 6 months. Oh, I think we'll probably only do it 6. So I'm like, okay, we'll put that in the policy at 6. But you really need to like have a conversation with someone before at 6 months you go, you're rubbish, you're gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you say, it's not just their issues, it's the employee issues. You know, what if they haven't got something on their computer, a program that works, and they are a person that perhaps wouldn't raise that with their manager,
Yeah.
and they're waiting for that one-to-one to have that opportunity, and then 6 months goes and they're like, why haven't you done X, Y, and Z on this computer program? Oh, well, I haven't had access to it. Just an example. But yeah, I think they're super important. They're going to be even more important when we've got day one rights.
Yeah.
And I always say, just paperwork, fill the paperwork in, have a paperwork trial. Everyone knows what they're doing.
Yeah, we used to do the same thing with the one. We still do it today, but we have to do the one-to-one. We type up notes. Even though we've written them down, we type up the notes, send them to the employer.
Yeah.
Is there anything I've missed on
Missed
here?
off it, yeah,
Are you okay with everything? Great. So they can't come back after and say, no, you
No,
didn't. So
I didn't
I
say
don't remember
that.
you saying that. Well, I was on this date at this time. I sent you this email confirming, and you said that's all perfect and correct.
Absolutely.
So I see what you mean.
And also, it nips any like grievances in the bud. Like the last thing
Yeah.
you want is a surprise grievance out of nowhere. But if you've had that sit down and they, you know, they might have a small grievance at that point that you can sort out.
Yeah.
If you don't have a conversation for months and months and months, that grievance gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And then it snowballs.
I would have really valued having one-to-ones in my previous roles because it was very male-dominated, and very different world to what I would happily work in now. I'm sort of 20 years older and wiser. But if I'd have had regular one-to-ones, I could have definitely been more expressive about what I needed help in or where I wanted to progress. And I would have found that really, really helpful. And you've always done that in the larger organisations that you've worked in. So you have instilled that into our business. So although I work really closely with like our team, like in the same room, I still have a one-to-one with them. And I always say, look, this is a two-way thing. Because like you say, the last thing you want is for them to just be like, yeah, I'm leaving because I didn't like the way that this was happening. Like it's a two-way thing because especially when you are a small team, if something's not working for somebody, you've got to nip it in the bud.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great way to get ideas out of someone as well. Like I said, all people are different. So you might have someone who's particularly quiet, who can't share their ideas in an open office or their concerns in an open office, and they're waiting for that one-to-one to have that quiet conversation. If you're not providing them with the opportunity, like you say, they could just go, oh, I'm leaving. I've had enough of this. I do think it's definitely a two-way. It's so important. But I think for small businesses, it's time consuming. They don't see the benefit in it, and they don't like having difficult conversations. They shy away from it.
Yeah.
Which is surprising me because when you're a business owner, you are constantly having to take yourself out of your comfort zone anyway.
Yeah.
It's whatever you do every day. You know, we all know it, right?
I think it's the fear again. I think it's the fear of saying something that they're not supposed to.
And this goes back to, is the government, all these changes the government making, are they actually making it worse?
It will make it worse, 100%.
It's crazy. So we spoke about policies a little bit and some changes that are happening, and we spoke about recruitment and stuff. But what about like culture? How's the culture changed in the workplace recently? And you know, do people still want? I mean, there was a time, wasn't there, when Google advertised roles? We've got ping pong tables, we've got sleeping pods, all these flat slides that take you to different meeting rooms.
We had the pool table, we had the pizzas.
Nobody used it.
It was a dumping ground.
It was a dumping ground for clothes. Became a table. What do people actually want now, and that is realistically deliverable from an employer's point of view?
I think since COVID, everyone wants to work from home. Yes, okay, there's some people going, oh my God, I hate working from home, I want people. But I think there's a real culture shift to, well, obviously we've done it before because it's COVID, so flexible working has obviously come in and helped that situation. It will help even more going forward. But I think there's a real, well, we can work from home, so why can't we? It's more flexible if they've got kids or they've got dogs, all of that stuff. So I think there's an expectation that that's what they do, or there's a balance, of hybrid. And I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about aging, and they were saying that social interaction is key to having a longer life.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because old people, they're retired, they don't see their friends and family as much, and it's really good if they can interact and join groups, and that will increase their life. But if you're looking at the kind of new generation coming through the workplace, I've got some businesses and they all work from home. Very rarely have many people in the office. The social interaction is completely gone.
Yeah.
They're affecting their aging. But it's really interesting in that respect. And I obviously work by myself, I work from home, but I miss interaction, and that's why I go out about and like speaking to clients on their site, do networking. So I think, fingers crossed, over the next few years, I can see that changing again.
I think so.
Because I think it's really difficult to manage people from home as well.
I agree.
Really, really difficult. I've got clients and they're going, how can I review people? I don't know what they're doing. And I think they are left working from home, and there's not necessarily any communication in the meantime. So like, you can work from home, but you still need to have a daily, Zoom or a phone call, or have a catch up, have a meeting every week, bring them in the office. There still needs to be that interaction. You can't just leave them to their own devices. And I think that's kind of where it's been for the last 5 years.
I think that I've always hated the working from home thing. I don't like it myself, but I think the whole concept actually is, personally, I think it's flawed. I think we short-sightedly said, well, we had to because of COVID, right? That's the only way business could carry on operating. Fine, I get it. But I think mental health has become such a big thing over the past few years. And being isolated at home, not surrounded by anybody, is only going to make that worse.
Absolutely.
We have zero creativity in our own companies because, let's face it, not one person has the great idea. It's a team effort. It's a bouncing off exercise. So that doesn't happen. And it's one thing doing a Zoom call. It's different doing something like this, sitting down and having a conversation with somebody face to face. So I think I'm starting to see it with some of the larger organisations already. They start saying, come back in. And people aren't liking it. And it gets me wondering. I wonder why they don't like it. Is it because they love the time from home, or is it because they're using it for some other things that maybe they shouldn't be?
And they're catching on.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
people take advantage, don't they, as well, unfortunately, and then that ruins it for everybody else.
Well, there is that. Yeah,
there's always that, isn't there? But
I think it's a balance, and I suppose it depends what you do. But I mean, if you are in the creative industry, you want to be all together, throwing ideas out. Maybe if you're an accountant, it might be okay getting your head down at home. And there are benefits, It means that more people can actually work, who may not have been able to work before. Working parents, carers, all that kind of stuff. People who've got dogs. So there is a place for it, but I think we have gone too far the other way. And I think now, when you're advertising a role, the first question they ask is, can it be flexible? Can I work from home? And as a new employee into a role, how can you get to know the people in an organisation, get to know their processes.
And the culture.
Absolutely. Working from home, you can't, can you?
Not at all.
And it becomes difficult with companies where they can't allow everyone to do that. So if we look at our Thread of Pixel, for example, you have to physically and manually stand in front of a machine to operate it. So if I allow then other people, like admins and salespeople, to work from home, but I can't allow production to work from home, it becomes really unfair and really difficult to manage because it looks like I'm penalising somebody because of the role they do. But I can't physically pick up a machine and say, there you go, take it home and do some work. Likewise, I can't say, well, you can stay at home for a day and do nothing.
I think that you'll probably find then that no one's allowed because it's just easier for management to deal with.
That's unfortunately
that's what we've done.
For that reason. It's just easy to make, because I don't think it is fair and I don't think it's right.
It's not.
Like if you look at large organisations like M&S, for example, how can they allow shop staff to work from home? Delivery drivers to work from home, they can't.
Exactly. There's some industries where, it clearly just won't work.
Exactly. But then it's okay for the admin staff to work from home. I just don't think it's a fair. I don't know.
Well, so that's the problem, and then you get your employees just resenting other employees.
Well, that's what we thought would happen.
Yeah,
we don't even do it ourselves, do we? Like, it's very rare that I'll only work from home for like an hour if I've got that meeting out. But then I'll come back to the office because you have to work the same way as the rest of the team, really. If you
don't want them thinking, they're the boss, they get to do what they want.
We've never wanted that sort of culture, have we? So, you wouldn't have a clue what the culture's like if you're not working there physically, would you? So,
no, not at all. And as a new starter, you're not going to know. You might be skilled in what you do, but you don't know how that business, do what they do. So as an expectation straight away, I think it's slightly crazy.
Yeah, I think it's good hearing them conversations behind the scene as well within because they'll be like, well, we like to do it like that because of X, Y, Z, and you can do it like
people learn off other people.
Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They can hear people talking on the phone and what they're saying, and go out and about and visit clients with each other, all that kind of stuff. It's just lost.
The world's gone mad.
I think there is going to be a lot of 180s, isn't there?
I think there will. I'm like,
Yeah.
once like Labour have put everything in,
Well, they've gone.
and then they're gone. We'll just reverse everything again.
Yeah.
So there'll be a whole load of work for me.
Yeah.
That's
and then
good.
great.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a whole load of other work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
You
that's
know, all of that. I mean, I had a conversation with someone today and they went, we used to pay rolled up holiday, and then they said we couldn't do it, and then now apparently we can do it again. I'm like, yeah, that's right. I said, I like just doing that.
Wow.
Have you got like version 1, 2, and 3? Then just go back to version 1, then jump to version 3. And
Yeah, it's exhausting, yeah.
Wow.
I think that's, again, another issue for businesses. How can they keep up with the employment law? And like you said, like, when is it coming in? No one knows, because it's talked about, but no one has actually gone, right, it's in. And there's so many different changes and things thrown about that it's really hard to keep up with.
It really frustrates me about all the governments, no matter what parties. Actually, we had this conversation the other day in that these changes are put out, but how are they actually communicated to business owners? I mean, okay, they might put them on social media, and if you've got a HR person that works in the company or engaged with the HR company, hopefully they'll share that information with you. Great. But if you don't,
They're not at all.
how on earth do you have a Scooby-Doo? For me, the government they've got all of our details because we have to register a company's house. Why the hell are they not sending out correspondence to say, or an email that says, these are all the changes you need to be made aware of and have implemented by X, Y, and Z? Because otherwise, like we just had a conversation I had the other week around that day one rights is happened, and we're like, hasn't it? Yeah. Nobody knows.
It's your responsibility as an employer to find out.
But it's crazy when you've got enough responsibilities.
Absolutely, I know. You're juggling all of these things, and then you've got to know when the employment law comes in. But not only that, what you need to do to safeguard your business. How are you going to know that as a small business? It's not on your radar, is it really?
Yeah, exactly. So for me, I think it's responsibility. I know it's our responsibility to implement, yes. But I think it should be government responsibility to make sure it's communicated effectively to everyone. And I don't feel that they communicate it effectively right now. And I think, like, for large organisations or people who engage with HR, you're protected in that respect. But for small companies, SMEs, sole traders, or they just look to take their first person on, it's a scary world.
It really is. It is.
But it's a lot of Chinese whispers, isn't it? That's where this has all come from. That's why we were thinking X, Y, Z, and other people are saying, "Oh no, it's this," and it's just Chinese whispers.
It's headlines. You know, you've got it's SXP's paid from day one. Yeah. But not yet.
Yeah.
And actually, only we think that's what may happen. It probably will happen, but not yet. But it's just for a quick headline.
Yeah.
But you find that with everything, don't you? Like a quick headline, and then you drill into it, and you go, "Oh no, that's actually not real at all."
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, the SSP change is ridiculous from day one. So what, we're just going to see more people off sick?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. It's crazy. So you mentioned earlier, before we got online, you've launched a new app.
I have. Exciting.
Techie. So what's that about?
So it's called HR Chest. It's a brand of my business. It's been trademarked and everything. And essentially, it is a tool for businesses where they can find out about employment law and upcoming legislation and the policies and the documents that need to back all of that up. There's also a staff management system. So your company can have access, and it's on an app, so you can have it on your phone or a desktop. Your employees can have access, and they can book holidays via it. They can record absence, and there'll be like an employee file. I have lots and lots of businesses where they don't have HR files, and they're just saved somewhere on their desktop somewhere. So this is a good way of going, here's all our employees, here's a contract in their file, and any documents, probation, etc. in their file. But the really good thing is, if you need to insert a new policy, so I don't know, for paternity or whatever, you can go, the new policy is sitting in your file, read it, and it'll sit in that file for that individual. So you can update people really easy. It's a great communication tool. There's a little notification bell. So when there's a new document land in your file, it pings on your phone so you know to go in and read it. The same with a holiday. So if an employee requests a holiday, it'll ping to the manager, you've got a holiday request, can you accept it or decline it? And then it'll ping back to the employee saying it's been approved or declined. There's a beautiful calendar on there, so you can manage all of your absence on there, so you know who's off, when they're off. And also it'll pin all of the absence, so you can see if Joe Bloggs has had every Friday off, see any patterns.
Detective work.
And you can upload your doctor's notes and all that kind of stuff as well. And we hope to build on this as well, but that's kind of the starting point for it. So it's to help businesses manage their staff and get away from the paper-based system. And it's also to help those who perhaps don't want a HR retainer, but they want HR information, documents at the touch of a button, and they can just click to download. And it's super cheap as well.
Amazing. How much is it? Now you've said that, I've got to ask how much it is, haven't I? You've queued me up.
It's £24 a month.
Yeah.
And then if you want the staff management, it's £5 a month for up to 9 staff, and then £1 thereafter.
Very good. See,
brilliant.
everyone's going to think this was all planned, wasn't it? Because we spoke about all those things. And then they're all genuinely, you said before you got an app, I didn't know what was in it, but now it looks like everything we spoke about is in that app.
It is, yeah. I wanted it just to make it accessible, so you didn't have to dig on the government site for anything. So there's a list of like, what's the minimum wage, what's the statutory payments, what employment law is coming up with a kind of vague date, what is in now, and then links to a policy for that, a document for that. But there's no kind of document on there where the employer could get into trouble. So I know other HR providers that might put a dismissal letter on, for instance. Right. I'm all for, please come to me and get one bespoke, because every issue is different. Okay. So there's not a templated document where I feel that they could get into trouble if they don't understand employment law and fill it out incorrectly. There's also a lovely little button to message me, so they can get me direct as well. So
emergency.
Yes, absolutely. So if you're a retained customer, you get the service and you've got an unlimited amount of messages, and probably they won't use
You're
it.
You're going to regret that unlimited messages.
I know, and then other people, if they want to download a form, but they don't quite understand what the form is, or maybe they want it a little bit more bespoke, they can message me and go, help, we want. So they kind of get access to me as well.
Amazing. That's really good.
Yes.
Really good. So I think we've wrapped everything up now. Is there anything that you want to leave our audience with that is like key takeaways from teeth back in. See, we don't edit this, so that's all we're going to be in there now. Key takeaways that they can implement quickly to sort of help mitigate any staffing issues, or just things that you think would make their business run quicker, more efficiently, that aren't going to take them forever, because we know that we've just spoken about it. Companies are scared about the amount of time these things take, that sort of stuff.
I think bearing in mind what's coming, the first step is, if you've got a contract, review it, see if it's up to date. If you haven't, put one in place. It's really not hard to do, and staff will want them.
And friends and family.
And also, it's a legal requirement. If you don't have one and there is a claim, they will increase the money because you haven't got a contract. Right, so key one, contracts, policies and procedures, really easy to do. Have a bank of policies, because if you get in trouble, you need to refer to them. And they're really useful. I don't know why you wouldn't want them. And have conversations with your staff. Don't be scared of having conversations with them. I think if you're open, they're open, you can normally come to some kind of agreement. And if you really are scared of having difficult conversations and you want some help, then I always do them for you. I am not scared of a difficult conversation.
I like them, actually. I get that kind of thing beforehand. Right, okay. We're going to war. Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you for coming down. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
I think it's really useful. I've definitely learned a lot.
Yeah, you've been absolutely fantastic. Yeah, brilliant. Really helpful, because it is a minefield. You know, business owners have too much on their hands, and managers, I'm sure you work with as well as the business owners directly. So, yeah, really, really useful.
Been really good. So thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been great. Thank you.
See you next time.
Thank you.